We've all had a time where we feel like what we need to do feels impossible. And today I want to talk about the story of Nehemiah and what that teaches us about how we can do the impossible with confidence and courage as we move forward. Hi, I'm Jamie Knapp, and welcome to the channel where quick insights and tips make raising kids in the gospel so much easier and a lot more fun. Today, we're talking about the story of Nehemiah and how he teaches us what we can do when we feel discouraged or overwhelmed or like everything is stacked up against us. In Nehemiah chapter 1, verses 3 and 4, it says, "And they said unto me, the remnant that are left of the captivity there in the province are in great affliction and reproach. The wall of Jerusalem also is broken down, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. And it came to pass when I heard these words, that I sat down and wept and mourned certain days and fasted and prayed before the God of heaven." Nehemiah knows what it feels like to be discouraged. He wept because Jerusalem was in ruins, and he realized that part of the reason was because of the choices of the children of Israel. They had forgotten, and in many cases, the Lord, and he hadn't been able to protect them. But in Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 11, he says, "O Lord, I beseech thee, let now thine ear be attentive to the prayer of thy servant, and to the prayer of thy servants who desire to fear thy name. And prosper, I pray thee, thy servant this day, and grant him mercy in the sight of this man." Sometimes our actions aren't exactly what we want them to be, but we desire to be good. And Nehemiah knew that there were people who desired to follow the Lord. They were just struggling, and all of us have been there. In Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 17, Nehemiah wants to do something about the situation he is. He knows that they're in distress, and he wants to gather people to help him fix it. It says, "Then said I unto them, Ye see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lieth waste, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. Come, let us build up the wall of Jerusalem, that we be no more a reproach." My guess is that the people thought he was crazy. Jerusalem was in ruins. They were overwhelmed, outnumbered, all of the things. There was no logical way that they could go rebuild Jerusalem. But in chapter 2, verse 18, Nehemiah says, "Then I told them of the hand of my God, which was good upon me, and also the king's words that he had spoken unto me. And they said, Let us rise up and build. And so they strengthened their hands for this good work." Sometimes all it takes for us to have the courage and to give courage to those around us to do something hard that seems impossible is to remind them that God is with us. And that's exactly what Nehemiah did. As soon as the people recognized that they had God's blessing, that he wanted them to succeed and that he would help them, then suddenly they had the strength to take steps towards doing what needed to be done. But it wasn't easy. In verse 19, we see that the other people started laughing them to scorn. They were making fun of them. "What on earth do you think you're doing? There is no way you can do this. You cannot rebuild Jerusalem." But Nehemiah answers, "The God of heaven, he will prosper us. Therefore, we, his servants, will arise and build." But it doesn't get any easier. Even though he is trying to have faith, people are conspiring against them. They're fighting against Jerusalem. They're trying to stop them from doing what they're trying to do. And so the people get a little discouraged. And Judah said, "The strength of the bearers of burdens is decayed, and there is so much rubbish so that we are not able to build the wall." The people are starting to feel overwhelmed. There's so much rubbish. This is so hard. Everyone's against us. How are we ever going to be able to do this? And yet Nehemiah reassures them, "Be not ye afraid of them," of the people who are taunting them and trying to stop their work. "Remember the Lord, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your houses." In other words, pay no heed to what you see. I know everyone's against us. I know there's rubbish everywhere. I know this job seems impossible, but remember our God. Remember that he is a God of miracles, that he stands by our side, and remember your why. Remember why you're doing this. You're doing it for your wives and your children and your homes. So they continued on, but they had to actually hold a sword in one hand to fend off their enemies while building with the other. And I know we have all been in that situation where we feel like it is a battle just moving forward. But Nehemiah encourages them. He says, "The work is great and large, and we are separated upon the wall one from another. In what place, therefore, you hear the sound of the trumpet, resort ye thither unto us. Our God shall fight for us. Nehemiah recognized that when we're trying to do something hard, one of our biggest strengths is to stand together. And that is important for us together today too, to find like-minded people and stand together in our causes for truth and help each other move forward. In Nehemiah chapter 6, verses 2 and 3, Nehemiah is trying to do the work, but people keep trying to trick him. They're trying to get him to stop doing what he's doing so he will fail. But he does not come down from building the wall. He does not fall into their traps, even though they try 5 times. He says, I am doing a great work so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease whilst I leave it and come down to you? One of Satan's biggest tactics is to try to distract us. He knows that we want to do the right thing, but if he can just distract us, then it'll keep us from doing it. And Nehemiah teaches us here that it's important to just keep doing what we know is right and to avoid all those distractions and those things that try to pull us down. Now, at this point in Nehemiah chapter 6, verse 9, now fear is the next tactic that he's used. For they all made us afraid, saying, their hands shall be weakened from the work, that it be not done. Now, therefore, O God, strengthen my hands. So Nehemiah is praying for strength because he is starting to feel fear. He is starting to worry that the people won't be strong enough to finish, and everyone else is telling them that they won't be. That happens to us too when we start to worry that we just won't have the strength to do what God wants us to do. And sometimes other people add to that fear. But Nehemiah and the people did not give up. In Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 10, it says, then he said unto them, go your way, eat the fat, drink the sweet, send the portions unto them for whom nothing is prepared. For this day is holy unto the Lord, neither be ye sorry, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. The people didn't give up. They built the wall, they succeeded, and now they could enjoy the joy of the world. But what I love about this story is that Nehemiah did a couple of things. First, whenever he felt that opposition come, whether it was people laughing at him or fear or just them telling him he was crazy, he always remembered the Lord. He remembered who stood beside him. The Lord is by us. This is his work. He will fight our battles. And that gave him the courage to go forward. He remembered how the Lord had blessed him in the past, and that gave him courage and faith that he would bless him in the future. And then he prayed that the Lord would strengthen his hands. Because a lot of times the Lord does ask us to do things that we may not feel strong enough to do. But if we will just show up and do what we can, he will strengthen our hands so that we are strong enough. And when we are feeling like the job is too big, like it's overwhelming, then we can find motivation by remembering who stands beside us, a God of miracles, and remembering our why. Remembering the reason we are doing what we are doing and why it matters. If you want to find out more information about motivation, how to motivate yourself and your family, and how to have that faith to move forward, be sure to check out Inner Strength Parenting this month. There are several video modules posted up there that you can check out to learn how to motivate yourself and your kids to do the things that really matter.